Welcome in to the Punt and Pass podcast. I'm your host, Drew Butler, joined alongside my co-host, Jake Fromm. Be sure to follow us on social media at Drew Butler, at Punt and Pass on X and Instagram. I'm at Drew Butler. He's at Fromm Jake, puntandpass.com, the number one destination for all things college football. Well, the month of October is officially here. And is there anything to talk about that happened in the world of college football over the weekend? Of course there is. It was chaos. We'll get to that in just a second. But Jake Fromm, first things first, how are you, man? How was that bye week?
Hey, man, doing great. Bye week was phenomenal. Got to come home, make sure the house did not burn down.
Yep.
Got to see some family, eat some great food, and of course, catch up on some unbelievable college football here this weekend. Played also a little round of golf as well.
Sweet.
Had to show the dad and the brothers who's still boss out there on the golf course. But man, college football crazy this weekend. Glad I got to see everybody. Glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to stop by Athens as well. It was homecoming weekend, Georgia Auburn. So got to do some TV with Zach Klein on Saturday night on
There you go.
WSB after the Tennessee Arkansas game, which of course we'll get to. Tennessee, number 4 team, goes down. Alabama, the number 1 team in the country, goes down. Number 9, Missouri, they go down. Number 8, Miami, they were on the ropes. Georgia, of course, took care of business. It's the Punt and Pass podcast. We'll dive into all of that. Before we do, though, got to mention our presenting sponsor, of course. That would be Solomon Brothers Jewelers. Solomon Brothers Jewelers. Check them out online, solomonbrothers.com, at Solomon Brothers on social media. The only jewelry store that you should visit in the Atlanta area is Solomon Brothers. They have 3 amazing locations for you to choose from. The OG, 17th floor, Tower Place in Buckhead. There's one in Alpharetta just past the Avalon up here by me in the North Metro, and a brand new location down south of the city in Sharpsburg. When you go into one of those stores and you tell them Punt and Pass sent you, you can get up to 20% off your jewelry purchase. Look, it's October. The holidays are going to be here in no time. If you need a holiday gift, if you're planning a surprise engagement, look no further. Solomon Brothers is the place for you. The in-store experience is absolutely unmatched. Their jewelry and diamond selection is top tier. They've got timepieces for the men in your life as well. Full bar inside each location. It is simply incredible. Again, at Solomon Brothers on social media, solomonbrothers.com. When you go in store, tell them Punt and Pass sent you, up to 20% off your jewelry purchase. Wedding band weekend at the end of October as well. I believe it's October 26th. When you buy her wedding band, you get his absolutely free. It's the best time. The time is now. Head into Solomon Brothers. Tell them Punt and Pass sent you. All right. Well, we have to start with the biggest news of the weekend. So we'll go 3 and out. We'll start with first down. Alabama loses to Vanderbilt in Nashville. Vandy hangs a 40 burger on him, Jake. Really just incredible. Watching this game, you knew Alabama was going to come back some way, shape, or form. I was so impressed with how Vanderbilt just didn't flinch.
I mean, so impressed with how Vanderbilt showed up and played, and like they put out the rat traps and everything throughout the facility at Alabama to prevent exactly this from happening. It still happens. Blows my mind. 40 points on the Alabama defense. Now, obviously, there was a pick six that happened.
Yes.
But it's just something's up with the defense there at Alabama. Obviously, you saw it in the second half of the Georgia game. You've been kind of seeing it all year. They just show up flat. It just, I mean, just unbelievable. Has not been done since like the 80s, I believe, where that Vandy had beaten Alabama, I think either at home or in general since like the 80s. So, I mean, just crazy that it happened. And just after Nick Saban says what he says about Vandy being the only place in the SEC where it's just not difficult to play, it just blows my mind. Can't believe it happened in all these other games as well. Just what a crazy deal.
Dude, Vanderbilt had 418 total yards. They forced 2 turnovers. They had 26 first downs. And get this, Jake, time of possession. Vanderbilt had the football for 42 minutes and 8 seconds. Alabama had the football for 17 minutes and 52 seconds. Vanderbilt ran 75 offensive plays. Alabama ran 46. The key to beating Alabama and Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams and Jam Miller, keep their asses off the field. Vanderbilt executed their game plan perfectly. You mentioned the pick six. Look, it was off somebody's helmet, popped up into the air. Vanderbilt caught the ball. That's step one. But then they capitalized on it. And then they were putting these long, sustained drives together. Then they were converting on third downs. Then they were going down the field and scoring touchdowns when they needed to. They were forcing punts when they needed to. I could not believe what I was watching. I think it's certainly top 5 biggest upsets in the history of college football. When you think about number 1, a lot of people point to App State, Michigan. I don't even know if there was a point spread on that game because at the time App State was not in FBS. Some people point to Stanford versus USC in 2007. Stanford was like a 41.5 point underdog. They went and they beat USC outright. When you talk about Vanderbilt, the doormat of SEC football, a school that didn't even have an athletic director, Jake, until like 10 years ago. A school where their football stadium is literally an active construction site. And then you put them up against Alabama, which I would have to say now, after the run they've been on, the premier program in the history of college football, the dynasty of all dynasties, the talent discrepancy. Alabama's fans clearly taking over that stadium and getting 40 points hung on you and losing to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, Jake, was 0-60. 0-60 against AP top 5 teams in the history of the school's program. There's not enough statistics to read to describe how crazy of an upset this was.
No, and there was plenty of times in the game where you're like, oh, this is about to happen. The 4th and 1 touchdown pass, where you think they're running a short yardage run and throw it over the top. But what really stuck out to me was at the end of the game when Alabama had to have a stop. And you mentioned it earlier about possession and just getting first downs. The Alabama defense had to have a stop. They had 2 timeouts. They had 2 and change, 3 minutes left, and a 2-minute warning. Totally doable, 1-score game. And Vanderbilt just imposed their will on them and ran it down their throat. Quarterback run as well, putting his body on the line. Anything to get this win right here. And I'm like, that is just the epitome of just getting physically beaten and just quitting. Like that there's nothing more to it than that. Late in the game, 1-score game, and you game.
You're totally right. Dennis Dodd tweeted this out. Alabama has given up 67 points in the last 6 quarters. That, of course, adds in the second half onslaught that Georgia put up when they tried to fight back into their game, ending up with 34 points. And then old Vandy just throws in a 40 burger in there as well. Simply unbelievable. So unbelievable that Alyssa Lang at the SEC Network, she did a phenomenal job fighting through the crowds that were rushing the field as the clocks hit 0. Diego Pavia, Vanderbilt's quarterback, obviously loving life. He's celebrating right after the game. Well, Alyssa Lang grabs his arm and says, hey, man, you got to come here for an interview. And this interview on the field, Jake, turned out to be an instant classic.
The chaos, Alyssa.
Diego, you just beat the #1 team in the country. What's going through your mind right now?
It's literally all God's timing, literally from the jump. God gave me a vision when I was a little kid, and he don't let that, and he promises it's God's time. Like, I'm super thankful for guys like Eli Stowers. Man, that kid's incredible. The rest of our team, look at this. Look at this. Vandy, we're fucking turned.
Diego, what were you saying to your team to finish this game?
Shit. Games like this, changing life, you know what I mean? It's all about hype nowadays, and I don't like it like that, but it's the reality of NAL and all that stuff, but I'll just stay grounded, be where my feet are, and every single day tomorrow I got to work out good tough.
You had 70 family members here. What did it mean to do this in front of them?
Where they at? Where they at? Where's the fam at? Where's the fam at? Come
on. Hey, good for him. Incredible. I love how he starts out, hey, all glory to God, got to give thanks to God. And then the emotions, Jake, they just take over. He lets a couple of cuss words fly, a little F-bomb there. He says shit as well. Why not, dude? You're king of the world. He said he had 70 family members there. I don't even know if I know 70 people.
70? Oh my goodness. I thought I heard that wrong. Like I couldn't really hear it through, the audio with all the stuff playing in the background. That is absurd. 70 family members. That is crazy.
I think at Vanderbilt, they just open the gates and say, hey, if you want to come to a football game, come on in. So you don't
I'm
really
sure
have to worry about
anybody wearing their colors. Yes, please. We don't want to get overrun again on a weekly basis of allowing people to come into our stadium. So for sure, 100%. Like when you hear, buddies or whatever, hey man, I just had like a blacked out moment. I blacked out. That was his like blacked out moment. He doesn't know where he was at, what he was saying. And he was just so ingrained with the moment. Obviously, like you, I like where his heart's at of sharing his testimony a little bit there in that stage and giving God the praise there. Obviously don't like the F-bombs coming immediately after that, The
timing is chef's kiss, yes.
But hey, we'll work on that. I like where his heart's at. And obviously congrats, man, on the big win.
I just saw his Twitter. This was posted at 3:30, so we're taping this a little bit later on Monday afternoon. Diego Pavia. He's at Diego Pavia 02. He tweeted out for NIL inquiries, hit my agent. I'll give the number out, 505-544-7267. Right underneath it, Vandy, we turned. That tweet has over 625,000 views as of the moment. So shout out Diego Pavia. And then, of course, all that while it's going on, Jake, it is compounded by Vanderbilt seizing the moment. And while the field has been rushed, while the fans are trying to pull down the goalposts, they are playing a video on the Jumbotron on loop of former head coach of Alabama football, Nick Saban, on the Pat McAfee show just 2 weeks ago. Here's what Coach Saban had to say about playing at Vanderbilt.
But the only place you play in the SEC that's not hard to play is Vanderbilt. Because when you play at Vanderbilt, you have more fans there than they have. And that's no disrespect to them. It's just the truth.
It's just the truth.
I would say Vanderbilt is so quote unquote easy to play at that it might be hard because there are no fans there, because the setting is so much different than what you're used to at a Bryant-Denny, at a Tiger Stadium, at Neyland, at Sanford, wherever it may be, Jordan-Hare, of course. When you go to Vanderbilt, it's like a soccer stadium. And clearly the money that they're putting in right now to, create a football atmosphere is money well spent, I guess, at the moment. But the timing of Saban saying that, and then 2 weeks later, Alabama losing in Nashville at Vanderbilt. They played it on a loop. Spencer, I don't know if you have the video of them playing the
only place you play in the SEC that's not hard to play is Vanderbilt. The only place you play in the SEC that's not hard to play is Vanderbilt.
So good. And hat tip to them. They were ready to take advantage of that.
Oh, absolutely. Completely seizing the moment, the poetic justice of this impeccable timing of when everything happened. You can't make it up. It's just too great. And I will say, playing at Vanderbilt at noon, it feels like a camp.
It's tough
scrimmage. Yes, it does, man. It is tough, and you're changing in like a middle school locker room. I mean, it's tiny. So yes, it is tough when you play there at noon and ain't nobody there yet, and everybody's waking up. So it's a little tough, and it's on Central Time. So
you're exactly
Central
right.
Time. It's really 11 a.m. I mean, it's tough now. I have to say that.
Okay, this is the last statistic I'll give out, and then we'll move on. But again, one of the biggest upsets in college football history. We have to dive deep on it. As far as I'm concerned, Coach Nick Saban, he can say whatever the hell he wants, right?
Yeah.
Now he's in the big bad world of media, so those comments are going to be held against him in the court of public opinion, as was just evidenced by Vanderbilt just smashing it right in his face and making him eat crow. But this is why he said that. Over 4 Vanderbilt-Alabama matchups in the Nick Saban era that went from 2007 to 2023, the Commodores managed to score a total of 13 points. They lost to Nick Saban 55-3, 59-0, 34-0, and 24-10 in the first Vanderbilt-Alabama clash of the Kalen DeBoer era. The Vanderbilt Commodores scored 13 points in the first quarter. So
That's crazy.
That's why Coach Saban said those things, and Kalen DeBoer was not able to add on to those insane statistics. That one's going to sting for quite a while, and I can't say it enough. Congratulations to Vanderbilt.
Last thing I'll say on this whole matchup, think about where we were at last week. Last week, Kalen DeBoer in Alabama beats Georgia. Right? They're on top of the world.
Game of the year. Paul Feinbaum said it was the greatest SEC game he's ever seen.
I mean, this is just incredible. The Saban area, just hey, we're moving, we're chugging right along. Kalen DeBoer's the next man. Everything's great. Everything's moving. And then to have the loss of all loss in the SEC to Vanderbilt. I mean, you can't make it up.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. I couldn't believe what I was watching, but they didn't flinch, man. They took Bama's best punch and they just kept swinging back. Jake, you mentioned it. The last time Vanderbilt had beaten Alabama, September 29th, 1984. That's just over 40 years ago. Clark Lee, Vanderbilt's head coach, was just 2 years old at the time. I was not even a thought. I was born in 1989. So just absolutely crazy. All right, let's move on. We'll touch on the Georgia game real quick. Okay, Georgia takes care of business. They beat Auburn 31-13 in the Deep South's oldest rivalry. Georgia's won 8 straight games against Auburn. The Tigers have not won in Athens, Jake, since 2005. It was homecoming. It was hot out there. It was like 85 degrees, sunny day in October. And I was there. I was there pregame. I hung around until just before halftime, and then I got back to Atlanta because I was heading in to do TV that night. I thought the crowd was pretty excited when the game started. We'll get to Kirby Smart's comments here in just a minute. I went in an official press capacity, so I wasn't exactly cheering hard or rooting loudly for the team, but I would have fallen into the group of fans that Coach Smart singled out in his post-game press conference, Jake. I saw this and I audibly gasped. I said, oh my goodness, I cannot believe Kirby Smart just said that after winning an SEC game, after responding very well. Jake, what you said was going to be ultra important. How is this team going to respond after the first regular season loss they've had to deal with in over 4 years? Kirby Smart took the podium after the game. He was talking to DJ Shockley as well, and he said this to the Georgia Bulldog fan base.
It was a great victory for Georgia. Tell you what, it was hot out there today, Shock. And if anything, to be honest, I'm a little disappointed. And I'm probably disappointed in our fans for the first time that I thought there was, a lack of really affecting the game, crowd noise-wise, passion and energy. And, hey, it was hot, but our players got full pads on, helmets, pads, and it's hot out there. And they're pushing, trying to have a home field advantage like we've had when we've played against teams. And I can't get crowd noise, and that's frustrating for me. So I just be honest about it. I think we got to do a better job as fans. And I know I got to do a better job as a coach, but we need these fans to support us, and these players need them behind them.
Wow. Okay, so I didn't play for Kirby Smart. Obviously, have followed him, have the utmost respect for him. I'm a huge Georgia fan. Everybody knows that. But Jake, this was really interesting to me. And before I get your thoughts, I think there's 2 ways to look at it. One, he's probably right in a sense. But 2, coming off that electric atmosphere in Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa a week ago where I was, and I even said it on this podcast, it was lit, like from start to finish. Does Kirby Smart have a point? Should he be talking about this after a win? What are your thoughts, QB1?
Yeah, I'm kind of right in line with you a little bit, and I may take it one step further. He's probably just comparing apples to oranges here. That was a top 10 matchup, top 5 matchup, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, just an electric game. Georgia, Alabama. I mean, everybody knows. I mean, hey, everybody's swinging and everybody's hitting their best shot, right? And then home game, homecoming, Auburn, like there's probably a lot of truth that the atmosphere just wasn't on to par of either A, what we're used to, or two,
Right.
definitely last week. Okay.
100%.
So where I'm at is, hey, like kind of eat your medicine a little bit, because I mean, y'all love it when he calls players out, calls coaches out, and calls it the way he sees it on the field in the program. And hey, he's just doing what he does, what you guys and what everybody loves him for doing and being, is he's going to, shoot you straight, tell the truth, and calls it how he sees it. And he's just calling it how he sees it. And all he wants is for Georgia to win. I think everybody does. And there's another video I hope that Spencer has here, which is say, hey, we're all on the same team. We're all pulling in the same direction. So sure, there's probably a little bit of gasp and offense, like, oh no, did he just say that? But hey, I mean, he's doing what you guys love him to do.
You're right. And I think this as well. And again, I'll preface it with, I did not play for Coach Smart. But in the interactions that I've had with him, he is exceptionally smart, meaning he knows everything that's going on around him. He has the pulse of everything that is happening within this program. And maybe it was a very well thought out, well-timed comment to
Strategic.
The fan base. I actually heard Hudson Mason this morning on the radio, former Georgia quarterback, and he was talking and kind of likening it to what Dabo Swinney's been telling the Clemson fan base. Essentially, hey, I'll retire when winning ACC championships is not good enough for our fan base, right? Like, there has been such an expectation of greatness. Kirby Smart said, we're not going to win every game. Like, I hope our fans understand that. You and I, Jake, we talked about it 3 weeks ago, saying the expectation for any SEC team to finish undefeated this year is kind of crazy, just with how much talent, how long the season is, and how many great teams are playing against each other. But I love what you said, because it is exactly what he does to his players. He is welcoming the fan base kind of under the hood and saying, that was not good enough. Yeah, we won the game. It was not good enough. I play at home, and I expect to have a home field advantage. I did not feel that. Now the fans want to come with the excuses. Oh, well, it was homecoming. Oh, well, it was hot. Guess what happens if a player who performs at a subpar level gives Kirby Smart an excuse? Your ass is getting benched. You better not come with the excuses. So, Jake, I love what you said. He is putting the fan base on par with his own players. And of course, when he made those comments Saturday after the game, it garnered a ton of feedback on social media, to the point where during his Monday press conference, Kirby Smart had to address his comments. Did he double down? Did he take a step back? Let's listen to him.
That's not really what this is about. We're a team. We're a unit. And I think it's okay to say how you feel and try to pull the family together and pull in the right direction. And you guys want to make it about, well, Kirby said this. I mean, that we're a team. We're a team. Like, let's do this together. Let's help each other. Not make it about what he said and they said, and I'm not into that. We need to all be together. That's when I got hired here, it was all about pulling in the same direction, creating an atmosphere that's hard to play in. You know, you win these games at home, and maybe you take it for granted if you win so many games at home. But I know this. It's hard. These teams are going on the road all across the SEC. You make it hard on them by what you do and what you create. So it's not about a specific point in time. It's about us all pulling in the same direction.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And big credit to Dogs HQ there for the clip from Kirby Smart's press conference on Monday. You're right, Jake, and he's right. He's like, what are we talking about? That is not a divisive comment. He's saying, be better. You are on our team. And I also think, not only is it Bryant-Denny Stadium last week, and that place was crazy. I mean, it almost felt like a Super Bowl, the amount of celebrities that were in there on the Jumbotron seemingly every time out. But when they went to Lexington, like, every away game that Georgia has played over the past 3 years has been the biggest game at any of the stadiums that they're in. So they're going up against crazy environments, and Kirby Smart saying, okay, let's have that same advantage when we come into Sanford. So he simply challenged the fan base. I'm really interested to see their feedback. Mississippi State, they're coming in this week. And then the next one after that, Jake, Tennessee, which will be a big game.
Yeah, Kirby's all about competition and finding a competitive advantage. And that's all he is trying to do here, is to create an atmosphere that gives the home team, the Georgia Bulldogs, a competitive advantage over their opponents. That's all he's about. He's shooting it straight. He's just calling it how he sees it. And if you can't take the heat, get out the kitchen or the bleachers.
I totally agree. If you're a fan and you feel slighted by those comments, or you're upset because you spend your hard-earned money and your time on the weekends to travel to Athens, to book the hotel rooms, to buy the season tickets, to donate to the university. If you're offended at those comments, I'd love to hear a reason why. Because Jake Fromm and myself are telling you it's a challenge. Step up. Just cheer louder. He's not asking you to spend more money. He's just saying cheer louder collectively as a team. So interesting. I think I might have to make a little Instagram video about that, Jake. Put the camera in my face, get the pulse of the Georgia fan base. I might get some good fodder there in the comment section. So we'll see what people are thinking. Before we move past that game, though, what were your takeaways? Georgia 31-13. Pretty efficient, I thought, on offense. I love the opening script on that first offensive drive, a good mix of pass and run. I think the fans are still clamoring at the lack of explosiveness, the big chunk plays from the offense. But look, I was down there on that field, dude. Auburn's offensive and defensive line, these guys were massive. I was pretty impressed with how they played in the trenches, and Auburn did not turn the ball over, Jake.
Yeah. 31-13. To me, watching the game, it just felt closer than that score. I really thought this was a competitive game. And if you're looking at the stat sheet, I mean, it really was 381 total yards for the Dogs, 337 for the Tigers. I mean, this is a pretty close game. 18 first downs for Auburn, 21 first downs for Georgia. Georgia was better on third downs, which is why they scored more points. But I don't know. Just watching it's not. And maybe like this is why the fans are like, maybe because the product on the field isn't as dominant as maybe they're used to seeing these past couple years. And I can kind of see that a little bit. I think in two areas I'm seeing it, and that is tackling, and that is at the line of scrimmage. And that's on the offensive line and on defense, right? Setting the edge. And we're just kind of getting run on a little bit, 137 rushing yards that we allow. That's just not something we're used to seeing. We're not used to seeing an opposing team rushing for over 100 yards on our defense, right? That's just, hey, no, that just gets locked down. We don't do that here. And it's just different seeing that. So it's just not kind of passing the eye test right now. And maybe the lack of explosives is something that's showing up, but I don't think we're as dominant running the football. And Carson's kind of quick to get out of the pocket. I don't think he's as comfortable there right now. Maybe that's some on him, some on the offensive line. I don't know. I'm just saying right now, I was expecting slightly more dominance in a response. And I don't get me wrong. I got a good game.
Of course.
31-13 is a good win against Auburn. Do not get me wrong.
Right.
Always. But man, the expectations are high. You've earned it. Pressure is a privilege. All those good sayings. Hey man, we want to see a dominant performance.
No, look, I totally agree with you. It's frustrating because I think the fans and even people who watch the game know just how much potential Georgia has. You look at the talent on the field, you look at the track record over the past couple of years, you see a guy like Carson Beck who's still being ranked ultra high in 2025 NFL mock drafts, and you're like, why aren't they scoring 50 a game? Why aren't they just letting Arian Smith run past everybody and Carson Beck throw it 75 yards in the air on a dime? Why isn't Trevor Etienne ripping off 40-yard runs every other time he grabs the ball? Like, that has just come into the expectation of a lot of people who watch Georgia. And again, it dovetails into what Kirby Smart is saying. Winning is hard. This is tough. You're going to get people's best shots week in and week out. Yeah, it will be hard against Mississippi State. Going to Texas, playing in primetime, that will be hard. So, look, Georgia, efficient game plan. I mean, Carson's not really ripping the ball downfield. I love that drag route to Lawson Lucky behind the second level of the defense, like a 35-yard catch and run on that opening drive to get them down into the red zone.
Yep.
Look, they challenged the offensive line because they was like a yard in a cloud of dust for a lot. And Bobo and Soros kept going back to the run game. They kept challenging the line to find a way to move the line of scrimmage. And they're missing Tate Ratledge and Jared Wilson bad, man.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Tate's a hell of a player, an All-American. So is Jared Wilson. But the leadership, man, I'll just say, look, I'm a punter. I'm off on the sideline. I'm mostly bothering you guys until game day. Guys like that, like true glue guys, like a Tate Ratledge, those are the guys who are so important to football teams during the week, on game day, in the locker room. When they're not a part of the game day vibe as a player, things change. It's just a fact in the game of football. So hopefully after that second bye week, the tightrope surgery, he can get back into the fray, because you see guys like that go down, like a Michael Williams. You know, you want those guys on the field performing, being emotional leaders in the locker room to make sure everybody has their best stuff all the time. So, look, a win is a win is a win. You never apologize for losing. It's tough in the SEC. They're on to Mississippi State this weekend, Between the Hedges, 4:15 kick on SEC Network. So, see if the Dogs can continue to move on. And why it's so important to win, Jake, and we're moving to 3rd down and 3 and out, is because this past weekend was absolute chaos. It was chaos. Of course, Alabama goes down. Then Tennessee loses their game on the road outright to Arkansas. Mizzou never stood a chance against Texas A&M. I mean, that was a total whooping. Michigan goes out west and loses to Washington. USC loses to Minnesota. It was chaos. There were upsets all over the place. Miami, I mean, they easily could have lost to Cal. My boys out west, I think they got away with one with a little unscrupulous targeting call that was called back at the end of the game. But I do want to shout out one person, somebody who I've got the utmost respect for. His name is Josh Pate. Josh Pate of 247 Sports and CBS HQ, one of the best guys in college football. Follow him on Twitter. He tweeted this out last Tuesday, Jake. Spencer, put this up on the screen, at Josh Pate CFB. He said on Tuesday at 10 a.m., this weekend will be a disaster. Landmine upset potential all over the schedule. Get your affairs in order. That's one hell of a tweet, because it did end up being completely chaotic. Favorites were going down left and right. Alabama, number 1 team, out. Tennessee, number 4 team, out. Mizzou, out. Michigan, out. He knew it, man. He is a hat tip to my man Josh Pate.
Yeah, hat tip. I mean, the nod, the thumbs up, standing ovation, the golf clap, you name it, he gets it. Calling this bonkers.
Yeah.
This weekend was it. Got to shout out Sam Pittman and the Fighting Hogs, man.
Yes, dude.
At home, beating Tennessee. That is a huge, huge win for those guys. And I also want to pivot here to Texas A&M. You're like, Jake, why are we talking about Texas A&M? They beat Missouri. There's nothing really special about Missouri. I have, somewhere here pulled up Texas A&M's college football schedule. Okay, so in the SEC, Texas A&M is 3-0 right now, and looking forward throughout their schedule. So this is kind of, I had some time here after ball today, and I'm like, as a player, you don't do this, and you don't look ahead at schedules and trying to check everybody out and what they got going on. But hey, I'm not a college football player anymore. I can totally do this. So I'm looking in the SEC and seeing who's going to be the dogs, who's going to get by with 1 loss, 2 losses. If you look at Texas A&M football right now, they're 3-0, and
in the SEC they're 3-0.
In the SEC they're 3-0, and at the top of the division standing. So they have Mississippi State,
Okay.
LSU. If they beat LSU, they have South Carolina, New Mexico
Very
State,
beatable LSU team.
Auburn, and Texas A&M. Like, they can get by with one loss here, which is crazy.
But then you're going to the playoff. If you have one loss, you're going to the playoff, I think.
Going to the playoff, going to the SEC championship game.
Yeah, and they avoid Alabama, as you said. They're at Auburn, but they have Texas back on the schedule. That's the last game of the year, Saturday after Thanksgiving. I had not given it that much thought either, Jake. That is a phenomenal talking point. How do you think Jimbo Fisher feels? These are his players. This is his team. Mike Elko just came in and was like, let me just go ahead and coach these guys up a little bit. We'll get a couple of big ones. I mean, they smoked Mizzou, dude. This was not a game whatsoever.
I mean, got the quarterback playing right, Connor Weigman going out, managing the game, threw for 18 for 22, completing balls, 276 yards, and they got the running game going, and just demolished Missouri. I mean, I think Missouri is off everybody's radar right now. I was looking at Ole Miss's schedule. I think Ole Miss has got a very tough schedule moving forward. If you look at Tennessee's schedule, they got a tough one too, man. They play Florida next, then Alabama, then Kentucky, who's giving everybody trouble right now, Mississippi State, Georgia, UTEP, and then Vandy, who's obviously just gave the number one team in the country trouble. So, I mean, to see Tennessee getting by with 2 losses is totally doable and foreseeable, right? I mean, there's a lot of teams about to lose some football games here, and it's going to come down to the wire. Who's getting in the SEC championship game? And if you have 2 or more losses, are you getting into the college football playoff? I don't know, Coach.
It's just going to really depend on the carnage that's in other divisions. Big Ten.
Yeah.
I mean, what happens this upcoming weekend? You got Ohio State and Oregon. That's going to be a sick game. That's where game day's heading. ACC, who's the cream of the crop there? Miami looks like it's it right now, but there is so much more football to be played. I think that's the key here for everybody to really kind of understand. We're just getting started, people. It's October 7th. We have a long, long way to go. Last thing here. Did you see Malachi Moore, the Alabama safety, just completely throw a tantrum on the field? He released a statement on X. I'm just seeing this right now. He's apologizing to his teammates, coaches, fans, alumni, family, said how he acted was completely out of line. Damian Harris, former Alabama running back, he was on the podcast. What he said, he said it was complete and utter bullshit. That is a former Alabama captain calling out a current Alabama captain saying, we do not do that. They're in shambles, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, crazy. After beating Georgia at home, best college football game ever, to next week we're losing to Vanderbilt. Absurd. I mean, they put the rat traps out in the building.
I did not know that.
To prevent this from happening, and it happened. Texas, they're about to run through the gauntlet right now. Oklahoma, then Georgia, then Vandy. What is Vandy? I don't know. Florida, Arkansas, a good football team. I mean, Arkansas has lost 2 heartbreakers this year, Oklahoma State and Texas A&M. They could be a 6-0 football team. Kentucky, giving people problems, and then finishing up, obviously, with Texas A&M we mentioned. I mean, they're about to go through the gauntlet as well. So there's about to be some carnage. Just buckle up.
Yeah.
All right. Put your boots on. It's about to get crazy. And I do want to say this again. NIL has created parity in college football. Whether you think so or not, I believe, this is anecdotally, I don't have stats, but anecdotally, with my eyes, there is a lot more parity in college football than the 07 to
NIL
18
and the transfer portal,
Saban era Alabama. Yes. I mean, you see it. Guys are going to places where they have the opportunity to play, make some money, instead of going to be good backups or good role players at bigger places.
Yeah,
they're just saying, hey, I want to be on the field. I want to play. And if I'm good, I'll transfer there later and I'll get my shot.
No, you're totally right. I am 100% in line with you there. Josh Heupel, what was the deal with the play calling on Saturday night? I'm not taking anything away from Sam Pittman, but I feel like you have to take advantage of Nico Iamaleava's arm. You have to take advantage of the expected pace in which your offense plays with. He seemed timid. He seemed hesitant. That seemed to directly correlate with how Nico was playing. There was a point in the third quarter where Tennessee went up 14-3, and I was like, okay, well, here it goes. They're going to score a couple more. They'll cover with ease. It was nice while it lasted, Arkansas, and they just were not able to close the door shut. That's got to be troublesome for Tennessee fans in a big moment on the road when, Tennessee's warming up. They're seeing Alabama go down. They fully understood what was at their disposal in that moment, and they could not put Arkansas away.
I think there's so many distractions in college football right now.
Yeah.
I think in a way it's getting to the players. Like there's so many things going on outside of the building, outside of the, what's going on in the grass, the X's and O's, the game plan. They can't just live in the moment, man. I'm worried about, my new car, this and that, all the different distractions. And that's another reason why, hey man, you're showing up and you're losing ball games. It's about getting people focused and getting on a good game plan. And man, it's just proving harder and harder maybe to do that.
There you go. Well, look, we never lose focus here at the Punt and Pass podcast.
That's right.
We don't. We are true professionals in every sense of the word. Our job is to entertain, be somewhat factual, and have fun. That's exactly what we do each and every week, twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays, right here on the Punt and Pass podcast. It was quite a doozy. Week 6 was for sure. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to head on over to Solomon Brothers Jewelers in the Atlanta area for any of your diamond, jewelry, or timepiece needs. They have 3 amazing locations for you to check out. Buckhead, 17th floor Tower Place, Alpharetta, just past the Avalon, and a brand new location down in Sharpsburg, south of Atlanta, Georgia. When you walk in the store and you tell them that Punt and Pass sent you, you can get up to 20% off your jewelry purchase. Look, you're going to blink. The holidays are going to be here in no time. Go get a great gift. Go get some grace from your significant other. Give them something beautiful from Solomon Brothers. Again, ladies who are listening, walk in there, get a great watch. The watch selection is amazing. You guys go in there together. October 26th, wedding band weekend. Buy her wedding band, get his free. Yeah, pair that up with an engagement ring purchase. The time is now at Solomon Brothers Jewelers. If you're in Atlanta, there's no other choice. Their in-store experience is unmatched. Their diamond and jewelry selection is top tier. They have a free bar. I mean, what more do you want, people? Solomon Brothers is the best. Check them out online at Solomon Brothers on social media, solomonbrothers.com. Follow us on social media at Punt and Pass, at Drew Butler, at From Jake, puntandpass.com. Jake, anything on the way out, brother?
No, man. If last week was this exciting, cannot wait.
We got great games
for next week.
Man.
It's going to be great.
Games.
So excited.
Great games coming up in week 7. We'll get you ready right here on Punt and Pass on Thursday. So with that being said, have a great week, everybody, and we will talk to you on Thursday.